Hello guys and welcome to this online lecture series for IIT JAM 2021 Mathematics Examination. So we are running a 6 months online course and the current subject we are discussing is linear algebra, and this is basically the fourth lecture from linear algebra. In the previous three lectures we have discussed about matrices and determinants, and in fact special matrices, and we have done almost all the problems for the previous some 7 to 8 years. And also we discussed in the previous lecture about the rank of a matrix, and this lecture is also a continuation of the topic of rank of matrix. In the previous lectures we discussed I think 6 to 7 questions from rank of matrices. That means all were actually previous year questions. So this lecture again we have around some 7 questions left out to discuss, and these are also the previous IIT JAM questions. So let us move on to the lecture. So if you just recall, in the previous class, we have discussed rank of a matrix in three different definitions we are given. That is, the first one was actually nothing but the order of the largest non-singular submatrix of A. Then we are given an example for that. And another one was the number of linearly independent rows or columns of that particular matrix. And the third one is basically by converting the matrix into the row echelon form and counting the number of rows, sorry, the non-zero rows. So in that case, we get the rank of the matrix, right? And in all three cases we have discussed problems also in the previous lecture. Okay, so now let us move on to one more definition of rank of a matrix. In fact, the most mathematical way in which we can define the rank of a matrix. So we are going to define rank of a matrix in terms of the range space of the matrix A. Okay, that's how what we are going to do now. So suppose you take this matrix A to be an m by n matrix, okay, and if I multiply this A with an column vector, say n by 1 matrix, it's a column vector, what do you get? You get again a column vector, right? Say I'll denote by y, and what will be its order? It will be y, m by 1, right? That means if you take all such x possible from Rn, okay, you take all x that is possible from Rn, sorry, it is n by 1, and you are going to multiply with your A matrix, okay, it's actually an m by n matrix. You're going to again get a column vector m by 1, right? This we are denoting by x, this we are denoting by y. So if you find set of all y's, that will actually form the range space of A. That means you have to find set of all Ax where x belongs to Rn, and it will form a space of vectors, right? And that space is basically known as the range space of A. So suppose you take, say, a matrix 1 0 0 1. It's actually a 2 by 2 matrix. If you take an x from R2, that is usually how we denote the elements in R2, we denote it by ordered pairs, right? So I'm going to represent this as a vector in this form, as a column vector. Okay, so if you take any vector of this form x, y from R2, then what do you get? Or simply let us do one thing. If I take a vector, say 1 2 from R2, what do I get? If I multiply my A with the x, I'm going to get a new y, right? That's what we have seen, and we have to take such set of all collections of such kind of vectors. So if you multiply, what do you get? You get 1 2 itself, right? If I give another vector, say suppose minus 2 minus 3, and if I'm going to multiply with this matrix, what I get? I get 1 0 0 1 multiplied by minus 2 minus 3 is again what? Minus 2 minus 3, right? So that means if you take all the possible vectors from R2 like this, so I will take all x1 x2, I'll take from R2, and if I multiply with my A, so our definition was to find set of all Ax where x belongs to Rn. So here it is R2, so we have to find set of all Ax like this. So if you take x to be a general x like this, then what happens? You get set of all Ax means A into this kind of vectors. So in this case I've taken A to be an identity matrix. So if you're going to multiply the identity matrix with any x like this, you're going to get the same x itself. So what you get is nothing but 1 0 0 1 multiply with x1 x2, you're going to get again x1 x2 itself. That means these are our y's, right? Y's in R2. There it was Rm, here it is R2, because our case we have taken as a 2 by 2 matrix. So we have found the range space of this matrix. It is nothing but full of R2, right? If you give x1 x2, then the same x1 x2 is available in our range also. So that means if I give like if I consider the range space of this particular matrix, I can say it is nothing but R2 itself. So this is a simple example on which how we can find the range space of a matrix. But we'll discuss in detail when we discuss the range of a linear transformation, all those things later, where we'll see that every transformation we can represent a particular matrix, and the range space of that transformation has something to do with the range space of that particular matrix. Matrix means we have one more theory that when we go to linear transformations, we'll see it. That is, for every linear transformation, when you fix a ordered basis, you can find out a unique matrix representing that particular transformation. So the rank of that matrix and the rank of the transformation mentioned will be same. So all those things we'll see slowly. So this is the basic definition of range space of a matrix. And we have rank basically defined as nothing but the dimension of the dimension of the range space. The range space of A is known as nothing but the rank of A. So this is one of the basic definitions of rank of A. But I should in fact tell you what you mean by a dimension, right? Then only you can understand uh, what is basically the dimension concept of a particular space. So I think we can do it in a better manner when we discuss vector spaces. There we'll discuss this dimension, all those things, but for the time being you can keep in mind that there is one more definition for rank in terms of the range space of A. It is nothing but the dimension of that particular space. So those who know these concepts, it's very easy for them to grasp, but those who don't know, it's not no need of worrying, because we'll discuss this in detail when we discuss our linear transformations. Okay, now again going to one more concept known as the nullity of a matrix. This also I'm telling this also we'll be discussing in detail when we discuss our transformation section. So we'll not be missing anything, so don't worry about it. So nullity of a matrix is nothing but if you have a matrix A, okay, then you have to find all x for which Ax is equal to 0. That means if x is A is basically an m by n matrix, you have to find all x of the form n by 1, vectors of the form n by 1 for which Ax is equal to 0. That means find all x belongs to Rn such that Ax is equal to 0. This collection is known as the null space of the matrix. Null space of a matrix. This collection is basically known as the null space of the matrix. That means, for example, uh, if you want to get a small idea of that, I'll tell you what is. With some examples we'll discuss, right? So if I take 1 0 0 1, this matrix, simple matrix, 2 by 2 matrix, we need to find out all the xi's or all the x for which this is the x for which a into x will give you 0. 0 means here we have 0 vector. That means you can see if I follow my definition of null space, I have to find all x1 x2 for which this happens. That means 1 into x1 plus 0 times x2 is 0. That means x1 is 0. x1 into 0 plus 1 times x2 is 0. That means x2 is equal to 0. So you can see here, if you want to make this ax 0, you have to definitely choose x1 and x2 as 0 itself, right? So in this case, if you see the null space of this matrix, set up all x for which ax is 0 is one single element, right? This is the null space. You have only one single element in that particular space, the null space of A. So if you take this matrix as A, and this will be the null space. This is the null space of A. Okay. And if I take another matrix, say let me take a simple matrix 1 2 2 4, and if this is our matrix B, then we need to find set of all x for which bx is equal to 0, right? So when you do this, what you get? You get two equations, x1 plus 2x2 is 0, and you get 2x1 plus 4x2 is 0, right? But you can see both the equations are same, right? Just second is just the multiple of first one. So we have basically only one equation to solve. Or from this we get what? We'll be getting x1 is equal to minus 2x2. That means if you take x2 as say 1, then what is your x1? It is minus 2, correct? If I take x2 to be 1, then x1 is minus of 2 times 1, so it's minus 2 1. That means this is actually one x for which we got what? For which we are getting the uh, this that is bx is equal to 0 is happening, right? So for this matrix we found one element in the null space, but how do you find all the elements? Yeah, if you see here, the elements in the null space will have the property that set of all x for which bx is equal to 0, right? So in this case you can see if I give uh, obviously if I give 0 0, it is obviously 0 0, so 0 0 is contained in it. If you take minus 2 1, it is also contained in it, right? But for this particular relation what we can tell is if I take x2 to be 2, or if x2 to be 2, what I get x1 as? I get minus 2 times that particular element, right? So whatever I choose a here, that is in x2, if I choose a constant a, I'll get minus 2a. So this will be our set. We can vary a in R. So this will be complete of our null space. Okay, that is, you can find any vector of this form. If you multiply here, you'll always get this equation is satisfied. So that's how we have found the null space of B matrix. So this is a simple example of null space of a matrix. Now regarding something known as nullity of a matrix. So nullity of a matrix A is nothing but the dimension of the null space of A. So we just know we found what is the null space of A, and the dimension of that space is known as the nullity of A. So this is actually again an ambiguity that I have not defined to you dimension, but I told you, so you can keep in mind for the time being, because I thought I should tell this here, because later on when we discuss our section in Linear transformations and all, we'll discuss this in detail. Okay, so here there is one more relation, or actually when we go to Linear transformations, there is a famous theorem known as rank nullity theorem. Okay, there is a famous theorem known as rank nullity theorem, and I will discuss that there. But there is a matrix version of that. That is, if you take a matrix, an m by n matrix, or any matrix, if you take, then we have a relation that rank of A plus the nullity of A will be equal to the number of columns of A. So this is the matrix version of uh, this theorem, which we will be discussing later. So rank of A plus nullity of A is nothing but the number of columns of A. So if you know rank, you can find nullity of a matrix. If you know nullity of a matrix, you can find rank of a matrix, and so on. Okay. Yeah, I know. I think some people really want to know that what should be the dimension, because when I define all these things, we'll feel like if it was defined, it would have been better. So let me do one thing. I'll just give you a vague idea of dimension, so that it is so that you don't miss anything. Okay, so let us see what is that. So before the previous class, if you see, we have defined something known as linear independence and dependence of vectors. So those who have not seen the previous classes, I would recommend them to please go and see the um, previous classes, so that it is easy for us to follow the lectures. So suppose you take R2, okay, you just think of R2, and if you take R2, uh, if I take two vectors, say 1 1 and 1 minus 1, so these two vectors are linearly independent in R2, because the previous class we have seen, if you take two vectors x and y, and if I take a linear combinations like c1 times x plus c2 times y equal to 0, if I am forced to choose my c1 and c2 as 0 for making this linear combination 0, then I can say that x and y are linearly independent. So here you can see, when I multiply like this, c1 times 1 1 plus c2 times 1 minus 1 is equal to sorry, c2 times 1 minus 1 is equal to 0 0. I get two equations, right? c1 minus c2 equal to 0. So if I solve this, you can see If I add this, I get 2, C1 is 0, and since C1 is 0, I substitute C1 as 0, I get C2 also 0. That means if I want to make this combination 0, the only possibility for me is to choose C1 and C2 as 0. In that case, I can say that these two vectors are linearly independent. So if I make a set like this containing these two elements, I can call this actually a linearly independent set. Okay, so it's very clear, right? So we have found two linearly independent vectors in R2. So how many linearly independent vectors do you think we can find in R2? Because suppose you think of one vector 1 1, another vector say 1 minus 1, what we have taken, we know these two are linearly independent. Let me take one more vector, 2 3. Okay, so my question is that whether this forms a linearly independent set. So if that means we need something like three vectors we are given here, we need to have something like this: c1 times x plus c2 times y plus c3 times z equal to 0 should imply that c1 c2 and c3 are 0. So make this linear combination 0. Is this the only solution there? That is our question. If this is the only solution for making this linear combination 0, we can say that these three vectors are linearly independent, right? But here, let me write down what I get. Let me see. So I'll just take uh, I just take 2 3. I'll show you that I can represent this 2 3 in terms of these two vectors. Okay, I'm going to do that. So I'll just take something like this. What is my claim is that I can represent 2 3 in terms of these two vectors. Okay, so if I do that, I have to find what is a and b. So I get what? Two equations: a plus b, I'm getting it to 2, a minus b, I'm getting it to be 3. So if I solve this, what I get? If I solve this, I get 2a is equal to 5, or I get a equal to 5 by 2. So if a is 5 by 2, from this equation maybe I can write what? If a is 5 by 2, then 5 by 2 plus b is 2, or b is 2 minus 5 by 2, or minus 1 by 2, right? So that's correct, I think, right? If you uh, add 5 by 2 plus minus 1 by 2, you get 2, right? Yes, that's fine. So that means you have to choose here a as 5 by 2 and b as minus 1 by 2. So when you do that, what we can see here is that this vector we could represent in terms of these two vectors. So indirectly, I'll just erase this part. Indirectly, what we have shown is uh, if you just rewrite this vector to the right hand side of the equation, or say you take these to the left hand side, whatever you do, I'll take this to right hand side. So what I get? A times, so instead of a we already got to be 5 by 2. 5 by 2 times x, this is x, right? 5 by 2 times x plus b minus 1 by 2 times, what is this? This is y. Then I'll take this to the other side. So I get minus, this is z, right? Minus z, it is equal to 0, right? This is z, right? So I'll just take this to the other side. So I get minus of the vector 2 by 3. That 2 by 3 is the vector z. So I get this. So from this, what you can see, the linear combination of c1 times x plus c2 times y plus c3 times z equal to 0 has a non-zero solutions, right? We can choose c1 to be 5 by 2, c2 to be minus half, and c3 to be minus 1. Correct? That means what? We are able to have, for some non-zero ci's, the linear combination is equal to 0. That means these three vectors are actually linearly independent vectors. So when you consider them three together, they are linearly independent vectors. Sorry, I'm very sorry, not linearly independent vectors, linearly dependent vectors. Yeah, they are linearly dependent vectors, because as per the definition of linear dependence, if you can find some non-zero ci's for which the linear combination is equal to 0, then we say the vectors are linearly dependent. So we found a linear combination of x, y, z equal to 0 with non-zero values of ci's. So we can say these are linearly dependent. Now my claim is that you give me any vector in R2. Okay, you give me any vector in R2, I can show you how I can represent those vectors in terms of my vectors 1 1 and minus 1 minus 1. That means if you give me any vector, that I'll take as a general notation. if you give any vector in R2, my claim is that you can represent them in terms of these two vectors. That means I have to tell you that what is the value of A and B I must choose. So it's very simple, because here we get again two equations. A plus B is x1 and A minus B is x2, right? So if I add this, I get 2A is equal to x1 plus x2, or what should I choose A as? X1 plus x2 by 2. Simple. Now if I have x1 plus x2 by 2 as my A, let me substitute in equation 1. So I get what? X1 plus x2 by 2 plus B is x1, right? So from B what I get? I get x1 minus x1 plus x2 by 2 has to be my B. So I got my A and I got my B. So whatever number you give here, correspondingly A and B you choose in this fashion. That means what? That means any vector in R2 I can represent in terms of these two linearly independent vectors. So, and one more thing I would like to say is that, so here we have done two things. That is, one thing we have shown initially that these two are linearly independent. Another thing what we have shown is that any vector in R2 can be represented as a linear combination of these two vectors. That means we are able to find or form the complete R2 space with the help of two vectors which are linearly independent, right? Can you is it possible to form all the vectors using one vector in the space? Like if I give you 1 2, and if I choose 1 2 vector, I can find it, right? But if I give you 2 1 vector, I cannot express that in terms of 1 2 as a linear combination of 1 2. That linear combination of 1 2 1 means something like a times some a times 1 2 will not give me this 2 1, right? That means one vector is not enough to form all the vectors in R2, right? So we need at least two here. So when we have seen that these two are able to generate the complete space R2 and these two are linearly independent, that means that these two vectors will form basically a basis for our R2. This will form a basis for R2. Basis in the sense they should be linearly, the vector should be linearly independent in that, and they should be able to span the complete space. Span the complete space means their linear combination should give you complete space. That is, if I time a times 1 1 plus b times 1 minus 1, and if you vary your a b belongs to the set of real numbers, then you will get all the possible values which are generated using, so all the possible vectors which are generated using these two vectors. This is basically known as a span of, if I take this set to be S, this is basically known as the span of S. Okay, so these things we'll discuss in detail when you go to vector spaces. There only we can give a more detailed idea. Okay, so for the time being, you can see that R2 we could generate using two vectors, but I can tell you that these are not the only two vectors which can help to generate complete R2. You can try with any two linearly independent. Suppose you take 1 1 and you take 1 0. These two are enough to find, like this also will be actually acting as a basis. You can check this is really independent and you can generate any vector using these two. So as a whole, what you must understand is that in R2, if you have two linearly independent vectors, then you can completely span the space. That means you can generate all the vectors in R2 and they'll be, and given that they are linearly independent. Okay, so that means the dimension, this is what we were discussing, right? The dimension. So dimension of this space R2 is nothing but the if you take the basis, if you find a basis for R2 and you take the cardinality of that, that means here you can see we have found a basis and the number of elements in the set is basically 2, right? Here also you can see the number of elements is basically 2. So the dimension of this space is actually 2. Okay, so now I think you might have got a basic idea. So you just keep in mind these things. If you have a matrix, then rank of A plus the nullity of A. Nullity of A will be equal to the number of columns of that particular matrix. So this is the matrix version, and what we have done is we discussed the range space of A, and we defined the dimension of this space to be the rank of A. Then we defined the null space of A, right? Null space of A. Then we took the dimension of null space of A, which is defined as the nullity of A. And we did a very small examples for finding rank and nullity of A, in fact. But when you go to big problems, we'll take a bit time. But that's what we have, this identity which we can use to find both. If you know nullity, you can find rank, and if you know rank, you can find nullity. But I will tell that this is a very important idea in this linear algebra section, which you need to be very much clear before you go and study the higher versions, like higher concepts. Okay, so one more thing I would like to tell you is regarding the row space of a matrix and the column space of a matrix. So these are very simple things. It's not a big deal to understand these things. So how do you define the row space of a matrix? Suppose you take a matrix, say 1 minus 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so this you take a 2 by 3 matrix. Then what do you mean by row space of A? It is very simple. It is a space spanned by the rows. So you have two rows here. The first row is 1 minus 1, 2. Second row is 3, 2, 1. Right? You just find all the linear combinations of this set of all AB, where AB belongs to R. This space is what is known as a row space. You just think about these two rows and think about the space which is generated by these two. That is what I mean by the row space. So similarly, if you think about column space, it is something similar, right? Same definition. You just think about column space. You think about the column space of A. Same matrix if you take, the column space is nothing but the space generated by the columns. The columns 1, 3, minus 1, 2, and 2, 1. Some A times this plus B times this plus C times this. Where we have defined what is A, B, and C. So where A, B, and C belongs to R. So this is actually the column space of the matrix. So we are discussing the case of real matrices, okay, for the time being. So here we are taking constant, so we have to find set of all vectors which are generated with the help of these three vectors as a linear combination of these three vectors. That space is what is known as the column space of A. Okay. Now before going to this set of problems for the previous year, if you remember the previous class, we have done one problem. This was actually an IIT JAM question from linear algebra section asked in the rank section, right? So this is what we have solved in the last class. We found basically the rank of this matrix. Okay, we have found the rank of this matrix, and I don't exactly remember. I think we got the rank as 2. But that we'll check. So how do you find nullity of this matrix? So by the definition, how do you solve nullity of this matrix? If you want to find nullity of this matrix, if you know the rank directly, you can tell. If rank is 2, then by our result, that rank of A plus nullity of A will be equal to the number of columns. So the number of columns is what here? Number of columns is 3, and nullity rank I think we found to be 2, so we can find nullity, right? What is nullity? Nullity should be 3 minus 2, that is 1, right? But actually what we need to learn is how to find the null space or say nullity of this matrix without using rank. So the question what I gave initially was very simple, but this I'll take a 3 by 3 case here, and let us try to find out the null space. and then we'll find the dimension of that space and we'll get the answer as the nullity, and we find the nullity of that particular matrix. So nullity means set of all x for which a into x, right? This is a into x, x1, x2, x3 is equal to the 0 vector. So we have to find all such possible vectors for which ax is 0, right? So what you get here, this is something like you get system of equations x1 plus 4x2 plus 8x3 is 0, 2x1 plus 10x2 plus 22x3 is 0, and 0x1 plus 4x2 plus 12x3 is 0, right? So how do you solve this? So we can solve this uh, this system of equations will solve. So 1 4 8 2 10 22 0 4 12 again 0 0 0. So if you just apply some raw operations, you can reduce this, right? I'll make my r2 to be r2 minus r1. So I'll get r2 minus 2 times r1. So I get 1 4 8 0. 2 minus 1 is 0. 10 minus 8 is 2. 22 minus 16, it is 6, and this is 0, and this is same 0 4 12 and 0, right? Again I'll divide this second row throughout by 2 and the third row throughout by 4. So I'll make my r2 to be r2 by 2 and my r3 to be r3 by 4. So what I get is 1 4 8 0 0 1 3 0 0 1 3 0. Again I can reduce, I can make my r3 to be r3 minus r2. So I get what? I get 1 4 8 0 0 0 0 1 3 0 0 0. Now if I back substitute, what I'll get, uh, x1 plus 4x2 plus 8x2 is 0, then 0x1 plus x2 plus 3x3 is 0, and third equation is 0 times x1 plus 0 times x2 plus 0 times x3 is equal to 0. So from this what we get is, we'll get x2 to be minus 3x3, right? That means if you know x2, we can substitute x2 to be minus 3x3, so that you can find out the other values. So here you can see we have something like, we know how to solve system of equations, right? When you reduce like this is not the augmented matrix. If the rank of this matrix and the rank of the augmented matrix completely is same or equal, then we have that solution exists. So here we have both the rank to be 2, so the solution exists here. And since it is less than the number of columns, if it is equal to number of columns, we say we have a unique solution. Since it is less than the number of columns, we have infinitely many solutions. So in this case you can choose an x1 x2 or x3 as a constant. So those who don't know how to solve this, we will be discussing this in detail in the further uh, lectures. Okay, so here if I choose x3 to be some a, I'll get my x2 to be minus 3a, and if I substitute x1 x2 in this particular uh, equation, what I get, so I'll just erase this part. Yeah, so I took x3 as a, x2 I got as minus 3a, so I get x1 plus 4 into minus 3a plus 8 into x2 is minus 3, sorry, x2 is minus uh, yeah, 8 into x, this is actually x3, right? Yeah, so this is x3, so we get 8 times a equal to 0. So you get x1 as minus 12 plus 8, that is minus 4, so you get x equal to 4. So the space what you get is x1 is 4a, x2 is minus 3a, and x3 is A. So this is your null space. So if you go on changing the values of A, you get different vectors, but you can see here this can be written as sum A times 4 minus 3 1, right? That means we just need one vector to generate all the vectors in the null space of this particular matrix. Hence we'll get the dimension of this particular null space to be 1, right? Because we need only one vector to generate complete vectors, because any vector will be of this form. If you give different A's, you get different vectors. But what we can see here is we just need one vector to generate all the elements in null space. So what you can tell here is, in this case, the nullity is 1. So we have already seen in the initial, we have seen the rank of the matrix plus nullity of the matrix will be equal to the number of columns, and we already had the rank to be 2, so nullity has to be 1, and we got it to be 1. So you can find nullity in different ways. Okay, this matrix, what we have seen just now, this technique you can use, or the previous technique you can use. So I think that is clear. So now I think, but don't worry, we'll be discussing few more problems of this kind, because there are a lot of problems of this kind coming further, where we'll be discussing this nullity, finding nullity of a matrix. So if you have any doubts, I think you should really comment down, and if you want to have more examples or something, you should really comment down in the comment section, so that I'll do for that. I'll do for that, sorry, I'll do for you. And yeah, so now I think we'll move on to the questions, the previous year questions from this section. I think I found around 7 more questions are there which we have to discuss, and those questions are in fact good questions, in the sense we may take some time to solve those questions, but the thing is that we'll slowly solve the questions, okay? And maybe that will be, don't think that we are not able to solve it fast, because once you understand the concepts well, and if you solve some problems like this, when you attend the exam, you'll be able to do it a bit more faster. Okay, so don't worry about all those things. So try to read the questions clearly what I'm giving, and try to solve it, and then let us see whether you will improve. So I'll give the questions one by one, and one more thing I'll recommend, that when I give a question here, I will request you to please uh, pause the video there and read the question clearly. Try if you can do it. If you cannot do it, then only you play the remaining part of the video. You can just check the answers what I'm giving, and you can confirm your answers with that. So if you simply just look at the solutions what I'm doing there, you will not generate anything new inside you. So if you want something to come inside new, some problem solving has to come, then definitely you have to do what I'm telling. So read the question what I'm giving, then you try to solve by yourself, and if you're not getting, then you come back. Okay, so let us see the questions. So let us see this question. This is basically not a question from rank, but I think I should have given you in the determinant section, but that's fine. This is also a previous year question, we'll discuss it here. For j equal to 1 to etc 5, let Pj be the matrix of order 5 by 5, which is obtained by replacing the jth column of the identity matrix of order 5 by 5 with the column vector this 5 4 3 2 1 transpose. Okay, then the determinant of the matrix product P1 P2 P3 P4 P5 is what? That is the question. So we'll just check what is basically the P1 matrix first. But before going to that, if you go for the solution, what is determinant of P1, P2, P3, P4, P5? We know determinant of A into B is determinant of A into determinant of B. So same thing, we have a generalization that this is equal to determinant of P1, determinant of P2 into determinant of P3 into determinant of P4 into determinant of P5. Okay, so we just need to find determinant of each matrix and multiply to get the answer. So if you see the first matrix. Let us see what is the first matrix. P1 be the matrix of order 5 by 5 by obtaining the 1th column, right? That means I'll replace my first column of the matrix by this column vector given. Remaining is my I itself. That is, you have taken identity matrix first and replace. Let me do like that. I'll take an identity matrix first of order 5 by 5. So 0 1 0 0 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 0 0 1, right? So I have to replace my first column by our this column given to us. So I'm going to replace it. The first column, when I replace, I'll get 5 4 3 2 1. Now we need to find the determinant of this matrix. Can you tell what is the determinant of this matrix? Yeah, determinant is basically equal to determinant of this matrix is nothing but, so if I expand throughout this first row, I get 5 into determinant of the matrix, this one, right? Remaining will be zeros, because if I expand, next will be minus 0 times some matrix, but that is again 0, and so on. So here we get simply 5 times determinant of this. So what is that? This is basically a 4 by 4 identity matrix. Determinant is 1, so 5 times 1, so 5 is the determinant here. Similarly, if I go on to find P2, we are not, it's not required to find the complete thing, but we'll just see what is it clearly. And so if I take the next matrix, I'll take the next matrix. Let us see what we get there. So 1 0 0 0 0, then we have 0 1 0 0 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 0 0 1 0, and this is like this. Now we need to replace the, if you want to find P2, we need to find what? We need to do what? We need to replace the second column of the identity matrix of 5 by 5 order with this vector. So we'll replace the second column. So if I replace, I get 5 4 3 2 1. Now if we check determine, what is that? Here we have to evaluate, I'll evaluate throughout the this first column. So you can see I need to find only one determinant. This 1 times determinant of the matrix, which one? That is 4 0 0 0, then 3 1 0 0, 2 0 1 0, and 1 0 0 1, right? So now if you look at this matrix, and if you are going to find determinant of this matrix, that means we are asked actually here to find the determinant of this matrix. You can see if I expand throughout the first row, I need to find only one determinant, right? What is that? So here we outside we have 1 times, so find determinant of this, it's simply 4 times determinant of which matrix? The determinant of this matrix, right? That is again identity matrix, right? So that is again what you get, 4 times determinant of this matrix, sorry, determinant of this matrix. So what you get, 1 times 4 times 1, that is again 4. So we get for P2 we get the determinant as 4. So if you go further, same way you can see, we find P3, we will have the vector coming over here, okay, and if you find determinant, you can check it will be exactly equal to 3, and if you go for P4, you will get it to be 2, and for P5 you will get it to be 1. So when you find the answer, it will be nothing but equal to 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, that is determinant of P1 will be 5, determinant of P2 we found 4, determinant of P3 will be 3, determinant of P4 will be 2, and determinant of P5 will be 1. So the answer will be nothing but product of determinant of this whole matrix is nothing but product of individual matrices, determinant of individual matrices. So you get 5 into 4 3 into 1, that is 5 factorial will be the answer. So for this question the answer is 5 factorial. Okay, so I think friends we almost completed around 45 minutes. I think the remaining questions I think I should do in the next class. So initially I told in this lecture that I'll be giving 7 questions, but I don't think that's the time because I was not having a plan of doing that linear independence and dependence and that dimension. But I thought since it will be I think it is useful for you. I think you understood something from there. So in the next class I will be putting the remaining questions. So in the next class I will be putting only remaining 6 questions of this section, and if time is available there, then we will go on to the next section, that is solution of system of linear equations. Okay, so for the time being let me stop, and if you have any comments and any queries, you can please put it down in the comment box. And if you have any, like if you like the videos, I would request you to share the videos so that other people could also be um, get some benefit from this. And surely, yeah, I should take your comments, like if I need to do any corrections or I think to improve my lectures in some other ways, you should please comment in the videos. And those who have not subscribed the channels, I would request you to subscribe the channel so that you get the correct notifications on time. And usually I'll be putting the videos at least one day, like I'm giving the reminder for the videos at least one day before. So I think you can have a correct time and at which the videos are going to be uploaded. So thank you for watching this video, and see you in the next video.